Are we on the air? Are we on the air? We'll be with you in just a moment. Cool. Bang. How do you have you here? Okay, we're just checking roll. If you're on TV and your name's not on here, you're in trouble. Okay, we are looking at gender. This is Thursday morning. This must be gender class. And Michelle, you get to start the day. Yeah, Michelle gets asked this question. In fact, how come the yellow light's on? This is frightening. Why is the green? There's the green light. Why did the yellow light come on? Now we're on green. Now we're on nothing. Are we on the air? We're on the air. Okay. Well, Michelle, after class yesterday, our last class, she asked the question that has been begging to be asked and that I know all of you are thinking about and have probably muttered and mumbled about to friends and family and whatnot. And so Michelle's going to... So I said, ask it in class today. So she did. She is. Wait, hold it. Shauna, Amy, can you have any idea what the question is?
No.
I caught a little bit of it, and I don't care either. No, this is a good question. This is a good question, because this is when you do academia and stuff, this is the question that begs asking. So, shoot. Michelle. Here's Michelle. Okay.
My question was, we were talking about masculine and feminine traits, and I said, well, why do we have to call them masculine and feminine? Can't we just say, these are personalities, and here they are. They don't have to be either or.
Yeah. Was anybody thinking that? Everybody say yes. No. Yeah, no. That's why I said no. Yes, it's a great question. Why do we have to call these, like, why do we have to say aggressiveness is masculine and sensitivity is feminine? And that's a great question, because aren't these just human traits? Why do we divide them up like that? And part of what we do in terms of research methodologies, we try to look at, to try to through studies. Actually, empirically, we'll look at masculine and feminine, because I think the evidence is there. But we try to create these models of research so that we can sort of split off and say, what aspects of psychological traits exist, and therefore we have a study that sort of proves it within a certain, range of validity. But the question is a good question because you see, I think it's already out there. It's already there. We're just in this class trying to look at it because it's there. I didn't make it up. I didn't create it. It can't be studied. And part of what I was doing in showing those lewd pictures of ancient symbols, phallic symbols, vaginal symbols, breasts, etc., was to show apparently there was a time when cultures honored these things. And remember, the instinct from the physical world, the archetype is the psychological manifestation of the physical instinct. So what we're saying is there's these, bless you, there are these universal truths that seem to be out there. In other words, the question is, mythology has these masculine and feminine characters. All tribes, all cultures. Why do you dream of a man? Why do you dream of a woman? And there are androgynous dreams that people have. Why are we so interested in this? Why are we so upset about it? Not that you're upset, Michelle, but why do we get so upset about this whole issue of masculine and feminine? I remember in 1974, when I was a youth leader up in East Texas, and the Battle of the Sexes was going on. Our literature talks about this. That was, 27 years ago. And they had the Billie Jean King and the Bobby Riggs tennis match. John, of course, remembers that. Here in Houston. And who's going to win? The Battle of the Sexes. And, of course, Billie Jean King won. And in many ways, it helped feminism kind of wake up. Of course, he was 30 years her senior. And most of the women tennis players in the world, the top 100 would slaughter most average men. It has nothing. It has to do with a lot more than sex or gender. But I remember we used to do these Battle of the Sexes, and that was a real hot item back then in our youth work. And in fact, in our meetings one time I said, see if who can bring more guys and more girls. We ended up, I said, if you can bring 400, I will kiss a pig. And they got to 372. I kissed the pig anyway. We found a lady someplace out on a farm that would give me her pig for a day. It's just fun, you know. So, why are you laughing? It's not funny, it's fun. You didn't kiss a pig. See, there's a secret way to handle a little piglet. You know what that is? Hold them by their feet, and they just stay there. When you try to hold them, cuddle them like a child, they scream. So, what are we talking about pigs for? But the Battle of the Sexes, all this, it's already out there in the literature. It's already out there in the symbols. Apparently, there's this masculine dimension. If you just take the instinct of the Wolfian duck expressed physically and the Millenarian duck expressed it physically, you see these obvious physical differences. And then, why are there masculine figures and feminine figures? I mean, I didn't put them there. And in a sense, what Jung was about is he saw the empirical facts in literature, myth, story. Here's a book I brought from the house, written by a woman, Jean Bolin, who was here not long ago. Camera 3, please. Okay, called The Gods in Every Man. She has another one called The Goddesses in Every Woman. New Psychology on Men's Lives and Their Loves. There's another, in fact, I have the hardback, but I don't have, I've thrown away the cover. But here's The Gods in Every Man, and this is, you don't have to zoom in on this, I'll just say, but this is about Poseidon and Zeus and Hades and Apollos and Hermes and Ares and Dionysius and these myths and these characters. They have the same one. She's written another book on the goddesses in every woman, taking Athena and Aphrodite and Hestia and Demeter, and who was Zeus's wife? Hera. Good. How did you know that? You took Greek mythology? See, here's an interesting thing, Michelle, and this is much more than y'all are wanting on this course and much more than you're paying for, but I'm the teacher. You have to go through this. You see, one of the things that's happened to us is we move from a polytheism to a monotheism, sort of generically. Most religious Judeo-Christian tradition, Muslim tradition, we go through a monotheism. There is a God, an authority figure. Of course, the Judeo-Christian model, what is that God? The image of that God. Male, father. Hello? You women put up with that and go, gee, that's interesting. Men count, women don't. See, there's a book I have called Gaia and God. And who is Gaia? Yeah, she's Mother Earth. And we went through years where there was a gynearchy, where studies show that where Mother Earth was the central figure of our worship and adoration. And then patriarchy, which has been going on about 10,000 years. We have a father image, an image of Creator as Father. Not a bad image. Mother's not a bad image either. These are all images of something we know nothing about, except we create these anthropomorphic symbols based on us as people. If we were horses, our God images would be a horse, because that's all we know how to talk about the ultimate, the mystery, the divine. But what happened when we moved into monotheism, what we did is we kind of gave up these polytheistic concepts, which I think really enrich life. So we talk about, gee, I've been visited by Aphrodite, I've been visited by Mars, these energies, Ares, And see, we don't even talk at that. And in fact, as a culture, if you ever really get honest about the things you spend your time on and what you spend your money on, and if you look at the Greek myths, you'll find what gods really visit you, what you really worship. If it's health, it's Hygeia. And many people read all these books and they worship health, or Demeter being a mother and family, and this is their god or goddess, that we worship. She has in here, or maybe it's in her other book, about men who are visited by Aphrodite, who have that energy, and we're going to look at it today, would be lover archetypal energy. A man that has a lot of lover energy would have a lot of Aphrodite in him. A woman that had a lot of Aries energy, Mars energy, she would have what energy? Warrior. Yeah, warrior energy. See, but those energies are defined as masculine and feminine, and they move in and out of different people at different times. So, so the psyche speaks the language, and we're just looking at these images. We're trying to define as best we can, trying to understand gender by honoring these archetypal energies. And so why do we call them masculine and feminine? Well, I don't know, except there seems to be evidence, or these energies, it's a good way to discuss it. It's another way to put it. And there seems to be evidence empirically through story. Here's another one I bought years ago. This is by Moore and Gillette. This is on the king, the warrior, the magician, and the lover. Rediscovering the archetypes of the mature masculine, for example. I have used this book before in talking about the queen, the Amazon, not a pretty attractive word for the warrior and woman, but it's often called Amazon. Magician, it would be what? Witch? That might be a negative magician. Okay, good. But it would be, good, William. That was a guy that said that. It would be in the man, a magician would be the sage, wise old man. It would be the crone for a woman, wise old woman. That's better than a witch. Well, a wise old woman who uses her powers of intuition in a negative way can, sort of be possessed by evil forces or something. And then the lover would be Aphrodite. What I'm saying is there are books on this stuff. Here's the problem when I teach these classes. I want to awaken your imagination to this. Because my hope is down the road, when you're not just studying for grades in class to get the degree, you'll follow your interests and go, isn't that interesting? I think I'll look about the goddesses in every woman, some woman might say, and say, which of these seem to really connect with me? If we sat down and had an hour-long interview, because I'm a psychologist, and have done this for a long time, I could probably guess, just hearing your story, which goddesses kind of move in your life, or gods that move in your life. And in doing that, I could also find your shadow, the things that probably need, that haven't come forth, the archetypes, the arrows in your quiver that haven't come forth. And there's no shame, there's no guilt on any of this. It's just how we develop. And then, I just brought these books today. This is a great book by John Sanford. It's called What Are Men Like? The Psychology of Men, for Men and Women, for men and the women who live with them, by Sanford and Lowe. Do you know who that picture is? Shauna, Amy, you guys know. Who is that picture?
We don't know.
Okay, you're required to take art history class. This is David done in Florence. Actually, this is it's a marble sculptor. It's a marble sculptor of David. Have you ever seen it before? See, I didn't go till I was about 40 to Europe, and I'm telling you what, it was one of the most incredible. I didn't feel I had completed much of my education until I went to Europe. I went to Italy and to Florence and Venice and Rome, and look at these paintings and symbols. Because remember what happened in, 1562, or what happened that changed everything? the greatest change in all the world, one of them was we invented the Gutenberg press. You could write about the story without doing it by hand. But before that, they would symbolize the story in art, right? Sculptor, symbols would tell the story. And but this sculptor of David actually spent 300 years outdoors, and it's now indoors in the St. Mark's seminary, or monastery. It's indoors, and it's just phenomenal, beautiful, beautiful thing. If you ever have a chance to go and see that, you will stand there in awe and consider the mystery and wonder of the eternal male, an image of the eternal male that Michelangelo put together. And when someone asked him how he did it, it was very simple. Remember, he just got this big piece of marble and he chipped everything away that didn't look like David. Ta-da. Sorry. Okay. They didn't even laugh in Cinco. One more as we're moving on. This is Carol Pearson. I'm using some of her stuff for this class. Awakening the Heroes Within. 12 archetypes to help us find ourselves and transform. I've shown you this before, haven't I? No, I didn't. The test I gave you, I got out of this book. And I called Carol in Seattle, and she gave me permission to use it. Maybe the publishers won't, but she said I could use it for these purposes. But you see, you don't see it, but it says orphan. See on the side, warrior, caregiver, seeker, lover, destroyer, creator, ruler, magician, sage. Oh, they separate those. And fool down here, the fool, the trickster. This is a great book for those of you that want to be psychologists, who want to keep growing the rest of your life. Is to, it's just kind of easy reading. I'll tell you another thing that's helped me. In my intimate relationships, I've been married for 22 years and divorced about 10 years now, and dating and getting, sometimes when there's conflicts going on or when there's things I'm fascinated about in someone, and it could be anyone, I often look and say, now what archetypes, what is this person about that I'm clashing with? What is this person about that I'm animated about? And it's so wonderful, particularly the Gods and Goddesses thing, that book, is to look that up and go, well, I'll be darned, there it is. And see, and what is it that irritates me about this person? Well, I see my own shadow, undeveloped side. I'm aware of their undeveloped side. And then I'm not so condemning, I'm more understanding. Is that much more than you wanted? Does it kind of help? Okay, good. But it's a good question. It's a great question. Okay, and in fact, in thinking about that, I found this old gal this week. Number 3, please. Zoom in, please. Okay, here we go. Well, there she is. Lady Liberty, the Liberty Enlightenment of the World by Bartholdi the Frenchman. I'll tell you what she's called. Isn't that interesting? This symbol she was given to us by the Frenchman in 1876, right? Put on Ellis Island. 13 million, I guess they all didn't come from Europe, but many came from Europe, and when they saw this liberty, the Statue of Liberty, it touched archetypal energies within. And let me read part of this. But in 1924, she became a landmark, American landmark. Well, in the last part of Lazarus's poem, Emma Lazarus, written by a woman, says, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door." You know what she's called? The Mother of Exiles. That's what the Statue of Liberty is, the Mother of Exiles. The innocent, the orphan. Can't we all identify with that? People leaving tyranny in their country where they've lost everything, coming for a new start. And so our great symbol on the East Coast is you enter and Mother opens or lifts her lamps and opens her arm. Well, doesn't that touch something in every... It would if you had just lost everything you had in, some Eastern bloc country or, and come to start over. Now, what is that about? Do you think they'd take a course on the Mother archetype? No, it's something ubiquitous, something universal that lies within all of us. See what I'm saying? And so what I'm trying to do in this class is awaken us to, gee, I wonder what that's about. And what is that about? And how do I access and actualize the Mother energy? And how was the Mother energy I got growing up, what was its positive and negative manifestations? And how am I carrying it on to the next generation? And the Father energy, positive, negative. And how am I carrying that on? And what does it mean to be a father? Even if, you're a woman or a man or gay, lesbian, even. What does it mean to mother and father? What are these energies about? So we're looking, again, not at stereotypes, but at psychology. Any questions, Amy and Shauna?
No.
Okay. Who calls her the mother of exiles? Well, here it is. She does. I didn't read the first of the poem. It's called the New Colossus. What's the old Colossus? Back here on 3. The old Colossus was where? What are the 7 wonders of the ancient world? And this is no shame of anybody in my class or in Cinco or anybody on TV. But here's the point. We're going to get a college degree, and I was that way too. But we haven't a clue about history and these themes. Yeah, I'm not asking you to name them, but John probably could because he's been around like that. But isn't it interesting that these themes, and the Colossus of Rhodes, remember that, was that in Alexander that stood over the port? The ships went under? Okay, you don't have any idea. Neat extra credit. Give me the 7 wonders of the ancient world. And you know what? Each one of those, the pyramids were one, right? And that was, yeah. Well, you see how we've got so much modernness going on that and then we call ourselves educated people, and in fact we're not. What we did is we just got a degree so we could go get a job, which is important. But God, I would hope you would want to be educated and want your children to be educated. See, okay, but let me read. She says, the new Colossus, not like the brazen giant of Greek fame. Sorry, it's not in Alexander, Egypt. That was, I'll think of it in a minute. With conquering limbs astride from land to land. That was, see, the Greek thing. I don't know if that was in Alexander. But it was the Colossus that stood on one side of a port. The ships went under his legs. Here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, voice change, whose flame is imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of Exiles. From her beaconed hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame. Keep ancient land your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to be free, the stretched refuge of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. Archetype. Here's the deal. If you turn in the 7 wonders of the ancient world, you need to list the archetypes that these manifest. And remember, I gave you a handout, the handout of archetypes. Just list which ones you think are there that might think. See, but that would be interesting to do. I've never done that. Okay, there's a symbol. Okay, in light of that, one of the things that from a text of another book that talked about female psychological differences through studies, not through empirical evidence of archetypal energies, which just don't come from antiquity. They're all around us all the time. Male-female differences, psycho differences. This is a study by Hyde in 1996, but it takes some other studies in there too. And the two main differences were on aggressiveness and communication styles. Now, my dear students, future leaders of the world, what would you think in empirical studies, which sex would come out more aggressive? You've been divorced. See, that's that cynical thing that comes out. And yeah, obviously it comes out of my own shadow stuff, isn't it? Of course. What would we say? Men. And why do you say that? Why do y'all say that? Where's your study, double-blind study? Where's your proof for that? Why do you just throw that out? Men are more aggressive. See? I mean, it sounds so sexist. It's so judgmental against men. Where's your proof for that? Okay, we see it all the time, right? And now, yeah, I'm going to look at that. But I'm being a little pedagogical here. I'm sort of challenging you a little bit to think, where do you come up with that? See, obviously, empirically, we see it. But what the studies have done, and from our archetypes, we get that sense from there. But the archetypes, male are generally more aggressive than females. It is true for virtually all indicators of aggression. According to Hyde in 1984 study, including fighting, verbal aggression, and fantasy aggression. We see it in males. It is true of all ages. As soon as children are old enough to perform aggressive behaviors, boys are more aggressive. Males dominate the statistics on violent crimes. That's what you're referring to, I'm sure. The gender... Bless you.
Thank you.
Would you clean off the microphone, please? I'm sorry. I mean, just a minute. Okay. The gender difference in aggression tends to be largest among preschoolers, but it gets smaller with age, so that gender differences in adult aggression are small, Hyde discovered. Researchers have also found that women and men differ in their communicating style, both verbally and non-verbally, regarding self-disclosure. Boys and men more aggressive. It lessens with time. And communication style, self-disclosure. In these studies, people are brought into a laboratory and asked to disclose personal information to their friends or strangers, and women are more willing to disclose information than men, at least in situations like these. According to Dendia and Allen, see, I'm just honoring empirical evidence for the same things we're talking about archetypally. Norms about self-disclosure are changing. Traditional roles had who expresses himself easier. Men, females, or males, men or women? Men? That's good, too. You said men. Now, who would you think is easy to talk about their feelings? Women?
Women.
Isn't that the natural thing? See, and where do you get that? Well, some of it's your experience. Some of it is an innate archetype. Women seem to be closer to the feeling function. Maybe women are taught societal to express their feelings quicker. Maybe men are taught to be stoic. And interesting, I don't know where I've heard this for 20 years, that during the period of 14 to 20, women secrete the hormone, 14 to 20, teenage years, as it were, women have the hormone that causes the lacrimal ducts to work, tear ducts, have 60 times the hormone in their body than boys do, or teenage men do during that age. So, are women crybabies? Will's nodding yes. They seem to cry quicker. Well, it's not really fair because the deck is where it's stacked against them. It's because they have 60 times the hormone going in their body that causes your eyes to leak. Of course, they say when your eyes leak, it keeps your head from swelling, which is not a bad thing. Again, no reaction from Cinco. Oh, God, she has her head down. She's gone to sleep. She's gone to sleep. But does that mean that teenage boys are stoic and macho? And well, maybe, but it's really, did they just learn that? Well, maybe, but part of that is what? It's not, they aren't tend to cry so quickly. Now, you take a more sensitive male, because there's this mixture of hormones in all of us, but a man who's has more estrogen, less testosterone, might be more sensitive, have more of that hormone. That's what I'm saying, as it were, the sensitive artistic type. But we would traditionally say communication styles is that women, is it females, girls, women. This is a generalization because not everybody's like this, are more expressive. I mean, a woman may have more have problems with her hormones, and in fact, not be sensitive. Research with college students who are dating couples confirms. I feel like what do you call it? The news at 5:30. CBS research with college students confirms. See, they have a monitor to read. That couples who are dating confirms the existence of this norm. The majority of both males and females reported that they had disclosed their thoughts and feelings fully to their partners. However, women reveal that in some specific areas, particularly their greatest fears, revealed more. And couples with egalitarian attitudes of equality and stuff disclose more. Couples with traditional gender role attitudes. Thus, the traditional expectation that men should not express their feelings seems to be shifting, newsflash, toward an expectation that they be more open and communicative. Now, a word from our sponsor, which is the great, what's really running the country, remember? Gynearchy, patriarchy, and now what's running everything? Corporarchy. Corporations. Hello, they're running everything. So these gender differences and people's ability to understand nonverbal behaviors, they found sort of decoded nonverbal cues like body language and facial expressions that women in the studies tend to pick that up quicker than men. They're far better at men in decoding nonverbal cues, discerning other emotions. This is a study by Wood in 1994. So are they more intuitive, more sensitive, more aware? Archetypally, we kind of say, well, that's closer to the soul feelings. That women tend to show greater interpersonal sensitivity. There it is, interpersonal. Cool word. What a great segue. I wasn't planning on doing this, but sometimes I just outdo myself. Here we go. What is interpersonal sensitivity? What's another word for that? Sounds like, starts with L. Love. Isn't love interpersonal sensitivity? Seeing life from another person's point of view, being sensitive to their needs and feelings. So it kind of moves us into looking at the lover archetype. What's so funny, Will? Oh, she did? We got a out of that. That's good. So might that be, ladies, might it be archetypally and from studies, generically, generally, that you may be closer to love and need to teach men how to love because you know more about that. You're more sensitive. And I hear the voice. You can say that again. Somebody's got to teach these guys. And in fact, you know one of the greatest effects, those of you that, does anybody have children in here? You do. Okay. If you're pregnant, I want to hear about that. I don't know. In my sexuality class, I give people extra credit if they break up with a long-time relationship or get married during class. They get extra credit. It's just a joke. But one co-ed came up last semester. She said, Dr. Egan, I got pregnant. Do I get extra credit? I said, your beloved child will be your extra credit. They were buying that anyway. Okay, along this line is Carol Gilligan found that now who's done a lot of writing on this. In one of her books, she found that men tend to think. Tend to think. Stop it. In T-E-R-M-S, in terms of ladders. With the sort of urge to ascend, get ahead, compete, urge to ascend. Yes, indeed. With the urge to ascend, which we'll look at, which is really the seeker archetype. Remember what we said? We said a couple of classes ago that the masculine archetype tends to be in the area of warrior, seeker. The feminine archetypal energy tends to be in the area of what? Caregiver and... Everybody push your mics at the same time. And let's all say lover. Ready? Push your mic. Lover. Just wanting you to know we have this great unity here. Okay, women, on the other hand, according to Gilligan, tend to think in terms of webs of human interconnection. And really, this is the energy of who? This is the energy of the lover. See? This is according to Gilligan. Webs, networks, human interconnection. Can't we all just get along? And see, men fear smothering. Men fear the web of interconnections. There was a study done at SMU, Southern Methodist University, a few years back that I taught when I was doing a parenting class. That the study asserted and found some evidence that one of the difficulties that men have in relating, say, in marriage or in a relationship with a woman is something that women know nothing about. Because a man has to leave a woman to find his sense of self. He's got to leave a woman. His mother is a woman. And then he's asked to bond with a woman and trust a woman and be close to a woman, having spent a good part of his adolescence, as it were, trying to come to terms with mother. And if he has a smothering mother, then he's asked to marry and get close to and enter a relationship with another woman. You see how difficult that would be? If he has a rejecting mother, then he goes back to another woman, whereas in a relationship that he's sort of loaded for bear, as it were, with issues because he left a woman and goes to a woman. And as I say this in the course, 90% of the culture is heterosexual, so we can apply all this to homosexuals at some level too, but that's not necessarily our discussion. Not trying to neglect it, but I'm just speaking generally at heterosexual things. But a woman leaves a woman, mother, and often bonds with a man, which is a whole new thing. Granted, she has a father or a father type or whatever, but often her initial caregiver is mother. So a woman leaves a mother and bonds with a different sex. A man leaves the same sex and bonds with the same sex again. And this study was showing why often men have difficulty with intimacy. Are y'all buying that? Are you on drugs? You're just staring at me. Are we with you? It's interesting, isn't it? Amy, Shauna, get a point for the day. They're learning like good Pavlovian dogs. Y'all are kind of... Wish I had an M&M I could send out there to you. Okay, so men fear smothering because that's the world of relatedness. Camera 3. And women fear the isolation and abandonment of self-assertion. If I go out on my own to pursue my dreams, I'll be all alone. And woman tends to be made for connectedness. Is this. So the challenge for men is to do what? Is open to their lover with inside and communication and share it. And the challenge for women is to be open to their seeker, to take some risk, to leave the herd, to go on a different path. Someone once said that the problem with Little Red Riding Hood, the reason the wolf was waiting for her at Grandma's house, I guess in the story she tells him, that's what she's doing, but that she wasn't willing to leave the path. So it's easy to figure out where someone's going when they're on the path of the collective. One of the great courageous things that we all have to do if we want to individuate is go off on a new path. Walk where no one's ever walked. That tends to be easier for men in the sense that there's this urge to seek and ascend and be different. Men are just caught in the herd as much as women. We could have a whole class on that. But it's kind of interesting. If you just do to please mother and father and the collective, you may never become a unique person. You got to strike out on a new path. Okay, so men have difficulty with intimacy, fearing they will be swallowed up in the web or net. Women have difficulty with self-assertion, fearing isolation at the top of the ladder. Nobody will need me. I won't need anyone. I'll be out there all alone. The transformative act for a woman, then, is seeking her own good and advancement in the face of her terror of being alone. And the transformative act for a man, Gilligan says, is putting aside his terror of being swallowed by the feminine connectiveness and to risk genuine intimacy. In short, the challenge for women is to open to the seeker, and men is to be open to the lover. Okay. Now, we're going to look at the lover here, and I have a bit of a correction because I wasn't paying attention to my notes or your ability to deal with this. And so when we looked at the lover archetype, we're going to do lover and seeker, and I have 4 principles of relationships that we can really apply. That maybe we can get to that in 31 minutes. So what I want to deal with is in the lover archetype is 2 things, because I was mixing these up. Is the first issue of the archetype is connection. I'm correcting this. So in the exam, put connection down and passion. And connection, remember, was attachment. It's the web of attachment. The web of attachment. And then the other side is passion, which makes us alive. See, and the lover is what's so funny? They're whispering?
Can't understand what you're saying.
You can't hear what I'm saying? Or don't understand it?
We can hear you, but we couldn't understand what you were saying. So we were debating what you were talking about.
Let's be a close family. Let's have no secrets. Except this is going out into hyperspace, and the chancellor may be watching. What's worse is your boyfriend may be watching. Or your previous boyfriend by the time it gets out. I don't know. When you think about these... Okay, what did you think I said as my ears are turning red?
A blind, I don't know, for alive. We couldn't figure out your alive word.
Oh, alive
makes us
alive. Passion makes us alive. Connection gives us attachment. But just stay with me. It allows us, the lover allows us to engage with life. Life itself. What happens when you engage with life itself and commit yourself to it and thrust yourself into it and really get with it? What's bound to happen? You're going to get hurt. Has anybody experienced that? Hello? I think probably by the end of the class I'll be going, stop it. No, it's good. It's good. Okay. So eros, lover is eros energy. We talked about it last time, which is below the eros. Eros is about soul, not ego. It's about calling, meaning, life's work, the arts. It's at odds with the collective ego. When the body and soul are one accord, eros is working. And so let me talk a little bit about the lover archetype. It's the primary energy connection of vividness, vividness, sensitivity, and as I said, aliveness. And the lover archetype is, you find it energized in people like painters, teachers, writers, sculptors, musicians, poets. Now you'll think, if you look at who gets paid the most in this culture, warriors get paid a lot, lovers don't get paid very much. Because the feminine is not honored in this culture. We don't really care as a general rule, we don't invest in teachers, painters, writers, the very people who connect us to life itself. And it's the appreciator of fine foods and wine and art and coins and vintage cars and music, hunger for food, sex, well-being. This is all lover energy. Creative adaptation to life's hardships and to ultimate meaning. This is connection to colors, sounds, smells, touch. It's great chthonic energy the lover has. And you can see how it applies sexually, of course, but just in all of life, it's to see the world in a grain of sand, to see heaven in a wildflower, to hold, to see eternity in an hour, and to hold infinity in the palm of your hand, as William Blake said. And as I teach in my sexuality class, if you can't fall in love with nature, you're going to have a hard time connecting with human beings. Lover is connected with all of life, everywhere. It's the archetype of play and sensuality without shame, see. That's all connectedness. See, it's all sensuality. That's why, most people spend a lot of time having sex, even in long-term marriages. But real sexuality is about being lovers. There used to be a book called Sex Begins in the Kitchen. And sex is foreplay 24 hours a day. It's how you relate to people and connect with people. I think Rodney King, the man who was beat up by the police in L.A., he said it wisely, didn't he? I said it at the last class. Why can't we just all get along? See, that's lover energy. You know, none of us are getting out of here alive. We're all family. We're all brother. We're all on the same planet. We all better figure out how to get along because we're not leaving the city and neighborhoods. We're going to have to connect with each other. And a person that has that kind of energy, that respects the dignity and beauty and wonder of individuals, and how does that person operate in corporate America? Not very well. See, in the sense that corporate America is, and it's not a bad goal in and of itself because it's positive patriarchy, is to make money and keep the system going. But when it walks over human needs, then it becomes negative patriarchy. So the lover archetype sees all things connected, empathizes with the world. It's about genuine connectedness in all of life. And then passion is to be connected through feeling. Not just the intellect. Feels joy and deep pain of life. Passion has an aesthetic consciousness about work and people. Has an aesthetic consciousness about work and people. Reads people like a book. Feels sensitivity to people. And shifts in their moods and hidden motives. See, the lover endures pain. And the struggle of life. Knows that the lover archetype knows that agony and her twin ecstasy go hand in hand. You know, the first experience of the child when they enter the world is what? Agony. Have you ever heard of one being born giggling? No, they've just been ripped out of a world that was into a whole other world. They must think they're dying, and they cry because it's painful. The whole human experience is you're going to lose everyone you love, or they're going to lose you. All relationships end in loss. And of course, we're in denial about that, or we choose not to think about that. But the lover's aware of this, and nevertheless, the lover archetype energy wants to connect, wants to get their hands in it. This handout I gave you on passion, you look at that by James Hollis, The Passionate Life. This is great lover energy. And there you go. Nice job. You have it in front of you, and those of you who have it on in your syllabus, or you can look at the website and get it on TV, and the website's in your syllabus. We are invited to find our passion, James Hollis says in his book Middle Passage, to find what draws us so deeply into life, into our own nature, that it hurts. For that experience transforms us. We are called to this present life to live it most fully, not hesitant or ashamed, whining about the past. We are summoned to bring forth potential from our depths. Fear of our own depths is the enemy. Fear, not others, is the enemy. But if we are afraid of our own depths, our passionate capacities, we ought to be even more afraid of the unlived life. Here are some of important axioms, and I think these are just powerful stuff. Life without passion is life without depth. And I might say we have a whole culture that's not very deep. It's a mile wide, an inch deep. The lover archetype will take us an inch wide and a mile deep. Number 2 is passion, while dangerous to order, predictability, sometimes sanity, is the expression of life force. I was sharing with a friend a few days ago how angry I am about some issue in my life. And my friend says, golly, I just really feel like I'm seeing the real you in a new way. And of course, I had some shame about the anger, that I'm presenting this side of me that's not very pleasant. But he said, gosh, I see your authenticity. See, because, beneath mad is always sad. And we're angry when we experience a loss. So beneath mad is sad. That's why when people get angry and stuff, say, tell me what's going on. I'm so sorry. What have you lost? What's hurting? How sad. And often we go, stop being angry. Which you can't express it in an abusive way is not healthy. But with kids, when they get angry, say, yeah, come on, tell me about it. What's going on? What are you angry about? What do you feel sad about? And I'm telling you, beneath mad is always sad. Wars are fought because people get mad because they feel threatened. People get divorced because they get mad and angry because they feel threatened at the very core. Because they've exposed their soul and it's being wounded, and that hurts. In fact, if this was our regular class, which it is, we're just on TV, I'll show you something. There's no extra charge for this. Let's do blue. It's the lover in me that wants different colors. Smell them. Hurt, or did you ever do that as a kid? Fear of hurt leads to irritation, leads to anger, and that leads to resentment, and that leads to bitterness, and that leads to punishment. Had one of my supervisors taught me how to do therapy. Showed me this years ago. So when you find someone punishing another person, just back it up. When we're punishing and aggressive, either passively or actively, it's because someone has hurt us. And if you find someone punishing you, it's because either they are hurt or they're afraid of being hurt. So what we do is say, well, let's get rid of anger, irritation, bitterness, resentment. These are all bad things. Baloney, they're human things, and they will teach you about what the soul's need is. Interesting, isn't it?
Yes.
Go ahead. Say, Okay, here we go. Here we go. Back here. Zoom in, please. Okay, number 3 is what cannot draw near the God. One cannot draw near the gods, the archetypal depths of life, without risking the largeness of life which they demand and passion provides. This is why, if you dare to become yourself and individuate and follow your soul's intent, you're gonna. Things gonna get passionate, and it's wonderful, but it's not always easy, and it's not pain-free. And 4th is finding one's passion serves one's individuation, which serves the world. I mean, sometimes I just wish people would be passionate about something, but people aren't passionate about anything. It's the mall people, flat affect, no brainwave working, and everything's repressed. And passion doesn't mean anger. Sometimes passion can be about joy and ecstasy and beauty and wonder. I love it when I see someone who gets emotional when they're talking about anything. It's just unbelievable, because what's happening is they're getting to the level of their passion. I have a crick in my foot here. And then 5 is living passionately is the only way to love life, Hollis says. So the lover is connected with all this. And so many of you in psychology, you came in because you have this passionate interest, and your families, you were often told you were weird, strange. You think too much. You feel too much. You're too sensitive. My gosh, why do you worry about things? Why don't you just get on with life? You just got to do the task at hand and stop feeling too much. A lot of us in psychology, that's why we're here. And the point of it is thank goodness you still have passion. You know, this country was not changed because there were passionless people. People didn't come over to this country to start new lives without great passion. Your relationships will not work without great passion. And I'm not talking about sexual excitement. I'm talking about the ability to express your deepest feelings, which is very, very difficult. Because we're often afraid we'll hurt the other person, which is legitimate, but there's a little hook sometimes. But we're afraid if we'll make them mad, they'll be mad at us, and we can't stand their rejection. So sometimes we say, I don't want to hurt the person. What we're really saying is I can't deal with the hurt if I disappoint them. So it's really about us. We're protecting ourselves because we're not willing to express our feelings. And the idea is to be honest and loving at the same time. For honesty without love is brutality, and love without honesty is sentimentality. It's like nailing Jell-O to a tree. Can't get a hold of it. So we have to dance that mystery between love and honesty. And then this great line, quote by Carl Jung at the bottom, which says, meaning comes when people feel they are living the symbolic life, that they are actors in a divine drama. That gives the only meaning to human life. Everything else is banal. You can dismiss it, a career, producing children, or all Maya, illusion, compared to that one thing. Is your life meaningful? And I say, if you're willing to grow and learn and discover, your life is going to be meaningful and actualize your archetypes. Well, that was pretty passionate, wasn't it? Okay. Well, I have a lot of passion about this stuff. So let me just say a few more things about this. Well, we have to get to our aspects of. I won't even go with all that. I'll just do this. Lover energy. And so, along with that, we would say, we looked at Campbell's two paths, the right-hand path, the ego's way, prudent and practical, climbing the ladder to success, the ascent. Which often the masculine path is right hand is consciousness, left hand is unconscious, left hand is soulful, more inner way. And the left-hand path is path of the soul. It's riskier to follow your bliss, your rapture, your essence, your ecstasy, your passion. And it may be you're angry about something, and that anger can make a difference in the world. Not an anger that destroys life, but anger that comes to transforms life for the good of yourself and others. And we looked at there are no guarantees in the left-handed model. Your journey is its own reward. And so the goal of the lover, did we look at this yet? We haven't, have we? Bliss, unity, and synergy. That is 1 + 1 = 3. The lover will connect and produce much more. Aliveness. Let me put that there too. That's the goal of the lover. And the task of the lover, according to Pearson, is to commit to what you love. And that may be to who you love, but it may be to what you love, too. You know, there's a book that says, what is it? Do what you love and the money will follow or something? There's something like that. This book's on follow your bliss. Of course, I like to take that a little further. Ignorance is bliss. So if you follow your ignorance is what you ignore. So if you go after what you've ignored in your shadow, beneath the water, you'll find your bliss. If you go after the things that are difficult, if you try to integrate the things you have questions about, the things you fear, if you try to walk toward those, you will no longer ignore it, so it'll become conscious. And so ignorance is bliss. Bliss comes by following what you've ignored. And that's kind of a second half of life thing. But I find many college students are already there. So the task is to commit what you love is to follow your bliss. And the gift is commitment, passion, ecstasy. Is that right? Maybe that C shouldn't be there. The X. No, it should be. Okay. And the shadow. What's the shadow of the lover? Well, there's two sides of it. One is the addict. And the lover addict is the obsessive fixation on the love object. We would be the addict, to use in language, is codependency. And it's jealousy. Remember, jealousy, I say remember, I've taught this before. Jealousy is often someone has what I don't have. Envy and jealousy is they have it and I'm attracted to it. But what it really is saying to us is I need to go get what they got. And it's okay. If you're jealous of some lover that's with someone else, well, what's wrong with you needing someone else and wanting someone else? You're not neurotic, because we have to admit we're dependent. That's often hard for therapists to admit. But gosh, I want somebody to love me and like me and appreciate me and want to be with me, like we see some lover, ex-lover with someone else. And envy, the reason we're envious of someone is they have actualized consciously something that we haven't actualized yet. I'm just so envious. That person seems so intelligent. Well, they probably went to school for a long time. So that envy may tell you need to keep studying over a period of 5, 6, 8, 10 years and develop your intelligence. So the idea is not get rid of jealousy and envy. I mean, you can't get rid of them, but to learn from them. But the shadow of lover is the addict, is the part of the lover that will sets no limits on sexuality. Let me just say that. If it feels good, do it. Lost in an ocean of senses. No limits on sensuality. Lost in an ocean of senses. Can't stop eating, drinking, smoking, drugs, sex, relating with others all the time. Addictive personalities. It's sort of, one theologian called it the sin of sensuality. You're just lost in it. Live for momentary pleasures. Caught in the fries of love. Roasting in agony in an addictive relationship. Ouch! Can anybody relate to that? No. So that's the shadow of the addict, and the other side of it would be the eternal restlessness, the Indiana Jones, the James Bond. So it's addictive or restless. Never stop long enough to put some roots down. On a continual high, orgasmic bliss, ecstasy, love, leave to love again, because so afraid of commitment. See, that's the lover shadow. Unable to settle down. If it feels good, do it. Okay, and then the other side is impotent. In impotency, impotent lover is flat living. Lack of enthusiasm about anything. Feelings. Shut down. It's not to say at times we go through periods like that, because they can be rich, difficult, but rich in self-discovery. there's no vision. See? And as the psalmist says, where there is no vision, the people perish. And the infinite lover is really a shadowless person. Remember what our shadow is? Maybe I've talked about that. Oh, shadowless. Your shadow is your problems. Are you working on your problems? Are you reading about them? You're working on them, honoring them, or just leaving them alone and letting your libido die with them? Your shadow is your problems, and your shadow is your gifts, your talents. What is it that turns you on? What is it that you're... see, it's sort of a powerlessness. So this is sort of this is sort of actively possessed shadow of lover. And infinite is sort of passively possessed. We just have a few minutes, and I'm going to come up front and show you something. Somebody asked me one time in a lecture I was giving about, can you back that up a little? Thank you. A little more. The camera, can you back it up a little? Wide it open wide. He did it. But I was giving this lecture one time, and somebody asked me what codependency was or is. And it's not as hot as it used to be maybe 10 or 15 years ago, but it's an interesting term. And one of the ways I said, and again, this is not scientific, but it's maybe a vernacular way of understanding, or a simple way. It's sort of like there's a line down the middle of the street, and I'm on my side and you're on your side. Codependency is, one way to look at it, is I don't have a life. I'm not activating and honoring where I am, or I'm not dealing with where I am in life, or accepting it or wrestling with it. So I need to get over here and work on your life, and let me fix you and help you and save you and rescue you, and I'm concerned about you, and we all talk about you, and I just want to fix you because I'm not sure who I am. So I cross the line in the middle of the street to get to you, and that's sort of a codependent rescue. Oh, if you'll just let me take care of you, and then I'll fix you. And it begins with I'm not having a life. Obviously, if someone is sick, infirmed, childlike, acting like a child, or really, you go over on the other side of the street and you help them, only to back off and let them get back on their feet. And you, of course, share life, but you don't go over and take over their life. Another way of codependency is again, I don't have a life, so I'm going to get you to come over on my side of the street through whining and poor little old me, and because I haven't found my power, my warrior to make some changes, my lover to try to connect with all of life. My caregiver is out there and not here, so I don't have a life. So what I get to do is I get you to come over here and take care of me and give me a life, because I have not found the wealth of inner resources bubbling up. Granted, when we're sick or infirmed, and there are times where we really need people to come help us, and that's very human. It's not codependency, it's human. But on the main, if we're always having a problem for someone to come rescue us, then we're pretty much stuck in that codependency rut. And the idea is, I have my life and you have your life, and we share together. And the greatest thing we can do for all of our relationships is continue to work on our own dreams, gifts, embrace where we are, take responsibility for our own problems. Because in doing that, what are we doing? We become a more interesting person to the other person. And in a sense, we don't sort of become a leech. And then we don't become sort of so needy and victimized by life. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, that's kind of an interesting way to do it. We just have a minute left, and we didn't get to the seeker, but we'll do that next class. And if you haven't, read that. I hope you're reading We and looking at anima and animus issues. And take the little test I gave you in your handouts today on the anima and animus. And the way I mean take it, what I simply mean is check off the little parts that you go, I can do that. That's me. I'm aware I have that part of my life. And again, this is not real scientific, but it's interesting for your own edification for you, for next class. So, so we've covered the warrior and the caregiver and the lover. And next week we'll look at, next class we'll look at seeker. That's a wrap. Bye-bye. See you later.